We're live.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Center for Spiritual Living Bellingham. If you're joining us for the first time, a special welcome to you. We're delighted that you're here. Here in the Pacific Northwest, we're having one of those June cloudy days. But wherever you are, I'm glad you're here. And we want to welcome you first with some wonderful music by our music director, Amber Darlin. Take it away, Amber.
Good morning, everybody. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Today, I declare freedom from yesterday, mistakes of the past. Today, all things are made brand new, and don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding as it should. Let's sing it. Here we go. All is well. All is well. Even Spirit is directing me right now. All is well. All is well. All is well and unfolding as it should. I can change my reality by changing my mind. Perfect peace, joy and happiness is yours and it's mine. I am a love and so are you. And don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding as it should. Sing it out. All is well. All is well. All is well. Even Spirit is directing me right now. All is well. All is well. All is well and unfolding as it should. All is well. All is well. All is well. Even Spirit is directing me right now. All is well. All is well. All is well and unfolding as it should. All is well and unfolding as it should. Hey, thanks everybody for being here this morning. This is Bellingham, Washington Center for Spiritual Living, our live stream every Sunday. We're so glad you're here. I'm Amber Darland, the music director. And if you're on Facebook, take a minute to put in a comment. Say hello to some of our friends here in our spiritual community near and far, and new folks tuning in too. I love that time of the day where we all get to say hello to each other, even if just through these virtual means. All right, friends, let's sing My Soul is Welcome Here. Place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Clap, clap. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just One more time. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. Oh, we're so glad you're here. We're going to tune now over to Andrea Wood, our practitioner of the day, for a prayer.
Thank you, Amber. My name is Andrea Wood, and I'm your practitioner this morning, your intern practitioner this morning. It's my honor to pray with you. In the knowing that we are living in a field of universal intelligence that responds to our predominant thoughts and ideas, this field is spirit. As I enter into the sacred, still space, I know I meet spirit. I meet spirit as profound love, as illumined pure light in my consciousness. There is no place that spirit ends and I begin. We are one. I allow this love and light, this illumination to live in me right now. I know these words for me as I know them for all. As we collectively turn away from barriers to love and our shared humanity, we become the space for healing and love, unlimited possibility. From this deep knowing, I place into the field of all possibilities a prayer of love, of equality, of compassion that leads to a deeper understanding of the connection of all sacred humans. I vision right now a world that works for everyone. I'm so grateful that Spirit is here today leading the way. I release my word, knowing it is done, and so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Holy, I awaken forevermore. Love be known. Holy, I awaken forevermore. Love be known. All is right. All is well within my soul. Peace be my offering. Peace be my offering forevermore. Love be known. Peace be my offering forevermore. Love be known. All is right. All is well within my soul. I've got a new song for you today. I'm excited to share this with you. It's a brand new song by Amy Bishop and Gary Lynn Floyd, and they put it out just last week. And I couldn't help myself but to learn it. And thank you, Philip Flores, for helping me get the lyrics on here so that you can sing along too. This is a great chant, just very repetitive, and I hope you'll sing along. Gonna climb this mountain, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. No doubt about it, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. Let's sing that again. Gonna climb this mountain, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. No doubt about it, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. Leave behind what's weighing me down, wash away what's holding me back. My heart is falling, face forward, feet on the ground, living in this courage I found. The sky is calling, gonna climb this mountain, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. No doubt about it, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. Leave behind what's weighing you down, leave behind what's weighing me down, wash away what's holding me back. My heart is falling, face forward, feet on the ground, living in this courage I found. The sky is calling, gonna climb this mountain, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. No doubt about it, I won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. One more time. Leave behind what's weighing me down, wash away what's holding me back. My heart is calling, face forward, feet on the ground, living in this courage I found. The sky is calling, gonna climb this mountain, I won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. No doubt about it, I won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. One step at a time, one step at a time. Thanks, everyone. Love sharing new songs with you all. We're going to head now over to Dr. Andrea Asebedo for the message for the day.
I love that. That was perfect. The prayer by Andrea Wood and the songs by Amber, perfect for my talk today, which always happens, it seems like. So we're in the month of a yearly theme. Who do we choose to be? Seems like a very appropriate theme. And this month, our monthly theme is what you see is all you get. And I wanted to talk about sensational creation today, especially in the context of what's happening for all of us in our country and in the world. There's no question for me, and I'm pretty sure you might feel the same way, that we are in a time of radical uncertainty. And if there's one thing about radical uncertainty that is true for all sacred humans, is it rivets our attention. We become instantly focused in the here and now, in the present moment, because we don't know what's coming our way. We don't know what's happening next. And our survival instincts make it so that we absolutely need to be focused. And so for many of us who spent the last few months being deeply, profoundly, intensely focused on several things. The first was, of course, the virus. And the virus, for most of us, we were like so focused that for many, they were like news junkies, just trying to ingest, inhale the information that was coming our way, whether it was right information or not. We were taking it all in, trying to understand where we were. And as the quarantine went on, after a while, you may have noticed, I certainly did, that there came a point where we were saturated with information and we just couldn't take any more. And right about that time, George Floyd was murdered, and we began to see the injustices and the inequality in our society come to light again. And for many of us, the same process then began to unfold. We were riveted by what was occurring in our own cities and in our country and in the world. And we were taking in information, very, very, very focused on the present moment and trying to understand and trying to respond and trying to, combine that with the virus and the quarantine and all of that. And right about now is when we start to get saturated again. And when sacred humans get saturated, they have a couple of choices. The first choice is that they become despondent, disheartened, disappointed, and they give up. And they just throw up their hands and say, I just can't do anything about this. It's too big an issue. This is too big a thing that we're facing. And I'm just gonna crawl into a hole and eat my bonbons and play video games and just ignore the whole thing because I can't do anything. This is what in psychology is called a thought distortion. A thought distortion, because it's not true, but it's totally understandable that we would feel that way. I certainly have spent days this week feeling very disheartened and discouraged and feeling like, what can one person do? So if I'm feeling it with all the spiritual practice I have at my back, I can't imagine for some of you what it's like. There is another choice. Actually, there's probably many, but the choice I want to talk to you about is the choice of actually joining with those working for change. And why would we do that? Why would we do that? Especially for those of us who have been doing that on and off for some of us decades. Why would we once again armor up, get ourselves back on the horse and ride it with other people who are riding in the same direction? And I wanted to talk about that today, why we would make that choice. One of my current reads is several books by Joanna Macy. Joanna's in her 90s now and has macular degeneration and has been a leader and a teacher for many decades, like 6 decades at least, on the Great Turning is what she calls it, the climate change issues, the nuclear disarmament issues. I mean, you name it, she's been on the forefront for many people. And I wanted to turn to her because as someone who has worked for so long in the field of social change, I wanted to see how she was feeling. And this is one of the things she said recently in an interview in the Lion's Roar. She said, you know, when the outcome is uncertain, as it is for all of us right now, we have to enjoy doing something exhilarating and useful without knowing for sure that it's even going to work out. This is one of the things she said in her 90s. Let me repeat it. We have to enjoy doing something exhilarating and useful without knowing for sure if it's going to work out. So when we're faced with radical uncertainty anywhere in our life, let's say there are some of you watching right now and you're going through a breakup, and it's a radically uncertain time for you. Whether you chose the breakup or the breakup happened, there's a lot of uncertainty around situations like that. Or maybe you have had someone you love die or who is in transition for their death. And it brings up just this incredible radical uncertainty about what life will be like without that beloved one. And what will you do and how will you go forward and how will you survive without that beloved one? And maybe you're looking at the times we're in and you're looking at the protests and the riots and you're thinking, well, what can one person do? And it just makes you feel all confused and uncertain. So I brought you a couple of wise things that I woke up thinking about today, and I hope it will help you. It certainly is helping me. So I want to read you a very famous poem by Mary Oliver, but I'm only going to read you the first part right now. You'll get the whole thing in a little bit. And this is probably one of her most favorite poems. It's called Wild Geese. And do remember that Mary Oliver was sexually abused by her father as a child, which drove her outside, which drove her into nature, which drove her into journaling, which drove her into poetry, which gave the gift to the world. So remember that part as you hear this first part of the poem. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. So I'm going to stop the poem right there. Because for many of us, we're feeling despair in different directions. For some of us, it's the despair of not seeing our children or our grandchildren. For some Canadians who are here in our country, they can't go home. They can't cross the border unless it's essential travel. For some of us, the despair centers around the racial inequality and injustices that our system has in place. And we despair about that. And of course, there's always personal despair that we could tell each other about. And meanwhile, the world goes on, is what Mary says. So what does that mean? It's not an anthem for despair being, oh well. Instead, she's pointing us in an understanding that it's not all about despair. It's not all about whatever we're involving ourselves with. There's something else to consider as well, which is the world and all that it is. So then I was thinking about, I don't wake up thinking about the Bible every day. I know this is a shocker for you, but I woke up this morning and I was thinking about one of my favorite stories in the Hebrew Bible, which when I was growing up, they used to call the Old Testament. See how things change. So in the Hebrew Bible, there is a story that has captured me for a long time about a woman named Hannah. And Hannah was married to a man who also had a second wife. And Hannah could not have children, but the other wife could. And so the other wife lost no opportunity to needle Hannah about the fact that she had children and she was carrying on the lineage and Hannah wasn't, and therefore she was worthless. Talk about despair. Hannah was in despair. And every year, the entire family, the woman and the children and the husband and Hannah, they would all travel to worship at the main temple in Shiloh. And the priest there was the head priest named Eli. And this went on for years. And Hannah was there at the feasting and the celebrating that happens during this time of going up to the main temple. And the other wife had needled her once again during the feast, and Hannah couldn't eat or drink anything, and she went away and she started praying. And the way they described this prayer is from the heart. It was a heart prayer, and she was feeling this prayer so deeply that her mouth was moving even though there were no words coming out, because she was in this heart of prayer, praying to God to open her womb and let her have a child. And if she had this child, that she would dedicate this child to the Lord. Well, Eli, the head priest, the high priest, happened to see her with her mouth moving and made the assumption that she was drunk. And so he started chastising her, saying, "Woman, stop your drunken ways." And so Hannah got up the courage to say, "But that's not what's happening. What's happening is I'm praying to the Lord to open my womb and give me a son. And if I have a son, I will dedicate that son to the temple." And so Eli sort of feels like offhandedly says, "Okay, go and be blessed in your ways and may your prayer be answered." Well, her prayer was answered, and she became pregnant, and in due time she had a son, and she named the son Samuel. And she weaned the son after several years, and as a little bitty boy, she took him to the temple, and she dedicated him in the service of the temple, and Eli, the head priest, became his mentor. So that's sort of the backstory to the part that always captures me. So here's this little boy. Picture him. I don't know how old he was in this part of the story, but he couldn't have been more than like 6 or 7 at the very most. And they put Samuel in the room where the Ark of the Covenant is, the most sacred place in the temple. And I think probably they put him in there when he was a little boy because they always kept a light burning. And it was sort of like a nightlight for this little boy. And Eli slept in another room. And Eli, at this point in his journey, couldn't see very well. And so he had laid down to go to bed, and he had gotten Samuel to lay down in his room. And this is the story from there. Now the boy Samuel was ministering to the Lord under Eli, and the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There were no frequent visions. At that time, Eli, whose eyesight had begun to grow dim, so that he could not see, was lying down in his own place. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down within the temple of the Lord where the ark of God is. Then the Lord called, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel leapt up and said, Here I am, and ran to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. But Eli said, I did not call. Go lay down again. And you can imagine if you've been a parent, I don't know if your children did this, but my children would get up a couple of times a night trying to not go to bed yet. So I'm sure Eli was like, Go lay down. I didn't call you. So Samuel went and laid down again, and the Lord called again, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. And Eli said, I did not call you. Go lay down. The emphasis is mine. And so Samuel went again and laid down, and the Lord called Samuel a third time. And he arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. And then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, Go lay down, and if he calls you, you shall say, Speak, Lord, for thy servant hears. So Samuel went and laid down in his place, and the Lord came and stood forth, calling as at other times, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel said, Speak, for thy servant hears. So this is in the first book of Samuel, chapter 3, if you ever want to look it up to hear the whole story, because I'm going to leave you hanging right there. But what has always struck me about that story is that there is both a capacity and a necessity for you and I to listen deeply for the voice of Spirit, for the voice of, if you will, the Lord. And this voice we locate within ourselves in the science of mind philosophy. But nonetheless, we believe it is divine guidance, intuition, the voice of the knowing one that knows all things. And this voice is rare in our times. And we need to be listening deeply right now. And like Samuel, when the voice calls us, when our intuition speaks to us, we need to jump up just like that little boy and say, here I am, speak, I'm listening. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when intuition calls my name, that's not my first response. My first response is often like, oh no, or words to that effect. Or my other favorite one is, really? You want me to do what? Really? You want me to do that? And so there's some resistance. But here's Samuel, this innocent boy, jumping up and saying, here I am, speak, and I will listen. And I think that's a very powerful reminder to all of us about what I'm speaking to, about radical uncertainty and what we can do. So the first thing we can do is we can listen. We can listen deeply to our own intuition, which will tell us the next right step that we need to make. It's there. It's just that we need to have our listening ears on and our willingness to respond present. remember Mary Oliver said, you don't have to be good, but you do need to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And part of that soft animal nature is our intuition. So we listen. We listen deeply to what our next step is. And then I started thinking about Pema Chodron, believe it or not. So I have a mix of saints and sages that greet me in the morning sometimes, and this was one of those. And Pema Chodron is a Tibetan Buddhist American woman who is quite famous. If you haven't heard of her, please look her up. She's really quite amazing. And she said something a long time ago in one of her first books, which was called When Things Fall Apart. Someday I'll tell you the story of the retreat I led that I named that, and everything did fall apart. Well, that's the story in a nutshell, but this is one of the things she says in that book. She says, to be fully alive, fully human, and completely awake is to be continually thrown out of the nest. To live fully is to be always in no man's land, to experience each moment as completely fresh and new. And she's saying that because, like I was saying earlier, radical uncertainty, being thrown out of the nest, in other words, rivets our attention. We have to be fully present because to survive, we need to be fully engaged with what's happening. So here we are, and I'm assuming that at some level you are fully engaged with what's happening on the world stage as well as in your own home and in your own heart. And for me, it's one of those we've been thrown out of the nest moments. We've had a pandemic, which people were predicting for decades, but none of us really took it terribly seriously, mostly. And so here we are. And at the same time, we have this incredible global thing going on that's awakening us to finding a way to create a world that works for everyone, which is a mighty task. And so we've been thrown out of the nest, and we're sort of in a free fall and in no man's land. But because of that, we are awake to the opportunities that might be in every moment, moment by moment. And that's the goal, of course, of the spiritual path, is to be fully awake. So here we are. It's happened because of some very difficult stuff, but here we are, wide awake and paying attention. So then that brought me to another story that my rabbi friend Kalish tells once a year, and as do most of the Jewish people who are practicing. And it's the story of Queen Esther. And that's another incredible story that I won't tell you the whole thing. But at one point, so Esther is a Jewish woman who marries a non-Jewish king. And she's beautiful and she's intelligent and she's everything you could imagine. And a lot of scheming goes on in the king's court, and the scheming is happening. And there's, I think it's her uncle Mordecai, is sitting at the gates of the court, the king's court, and he's listening. And he discovers there's a plot against the king, and so he reports the plot, and it's foiled. And one of the courtiers who is close to the king becomes really jealous of the fact that Mordecai has earned the king's favor. So he makes a plot to have Mordecai and all of the Jewish people killed. And so here's Esther, who's Jewish. She's the queen of the land, and it is not known to the king that she's Jewish. And so Mordecai, here's where the story picks up that I wanted you to hear about. So Mordecai gives a messenger a copy of the written decree issued in Susa for the destruction of the Jews, that he might show it to Esther and explain it to her and charge her to go to the king to make supplication to him and entreat him for her people. And the servant goes and tells Esther what Mordecai has said, and Esther speaks to the servant and says, all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that if any man or woman goes to the king inside the inner court without being called, there is but one law. all alike are to be put to death, except the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter that he may live. And I have not been called to come into the king these 30 days. And they told Mordecai what Esther had said. The servant went back and told Mordecai this. And then Mordecai told them to return to her this answer: think not that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all the other Jews. For if you keep silent at such a time as this, relief and deliverance will come for the Jews from another quarter, but you and your father's house will perish. And this is the line that always catches me. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? For who knows if you have not come to this time in our history with these things happening for such a time as this to make a difference? That's what I take away from that. And I believe that's true. I think from a spiritual perspective, there's no accident that we are here at this time, confronting the challenges and the opportunities that lie before us, and that each one of us in our very own way is a Samuel and an Esther, that we have the opportunity to stand and listen and then respond. And it's quite natural for us to be afraid that if we respond, we might lose our life, or we might lose the life that we've known, or we might lose friendships with people, or we might change our lives and have everything that we've loved be different. It's natural to feel those feelings. It's natural to be like Esther right at first and go, well, wait a minute, if I do that, I pretty much could be killed. And Mordecai says, well, but who knows? Maybe you're at that moment in this time to speak. So, of course, Esther does speak. And the outcome is beautiful. And you can read that in the Bible, too, if you want. And then you can tell all your friends that you've been reading the Bible. Quite impressive. So let me go to the rest of Mary Oliver's poem, and then we'll close, mostly. So remember the first part. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. So the call that is yours, the voice that is calling you, where you need to stand and say, here I am, I'm listening, is not going to require you to go on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours. In other words, let me listen to your path, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese. Harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Always gets me. It gets me because it's true. And when I hear a deep truth, I cry because it's such a powerful reminder of what's before us and what's within us, and the need for us to listen to the world calling us out, calling us to our imagination. So I started by saying that the topic today is sensational creation. And it's based on a quote by Deepak Chopra that I chose long before the pandemic hit, long before things happened. And this is the quote: "The most creative act you will ever undertake is the act of creating yourself. We are called in this time spiritually to use the power of our imagination and the power of our elevated emotion, joy, happiness, love, kindness, compassion. We are called to use these things to imagine a world that is different, that is more beautiful than anything we've experienced before. We are called in our own way to take that next step, to be the Esther in our own life, to know that really we are placed at a time and a place in our personal lives and in the world stage to do what we can do. And it may not be anything grandiose. In fact, it probably won't be. For me, what I get to do is I get to remind you, and that's my gift, into the imagination of a larger frame of reference in a more beautiful world. But yours may be simply reaching out to people in kindness and compassion. Yours may be listening to the despair of others and being willing to hear that there is trouble in paradise. Maybe yours is to be a person on the front lines asking for change. And maybe you're the one that writes a letter to a relative and says, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm imagining we can be as sacred humans in a world that works for all people and all species. So that's what I wanted to bring to you today, is the power of your own ability to create. And to remind you from these beautiful examples that yes, we are in a time of radical uncertainty, and it's the very, very, very best time to use all the spiritual gifts we have to create, to imagine, to believe in something that's deeper and better and truer. I know that as we do this, we all will be brought to tears, and I'm grateful for your work and mine. I'll do a prayer and give you a few announcements, and then we'll go back to close with another wonderful song. So join me in this prayer. I'll speak it for myself, but please know I'm speaking for you as well. Beloved presence, I am so grateful for this beautiful earth that I get to walk upon. I am grateful for the beauty of mountains and rivers and trees, and I'm grateful for the presence of sacred humans everywhere. Grateful for the diversity of plants and animals and humans that make this world what it is. And I accept for myself the absolute gift that has been given of creating by means of my deeply held ideas and my elevated emotions joined together. This knowing of thought and emotion brought into oneness allows me to move out in action into my world, manifesting the truth that I am knowing inside of myself. I am supported in wisdom and guided in action by an intelligence and love that has no limit. And so I refuse fear, and I step forward courageously, speaking and living from the deepest idea that I can imagine. As I do this, the world around me changes for the better. And I'm grateful knowing that there is this amazing law that takes these deeply held ideas and feelings and turns them into outer reality. I'm excited to see what that reality looks like as we all imagine together a sensational creation. And so it is. All right, so I just want to make you aware of a couple of things. We have some things coming up that I'd love you to be a part of. And because we're meeting virtually, it doesn't matter where you are, you can partake of many of these just by letting us know you'd like to. So first of all, thank you to all of you who are making donations, either now or in the past. We are so grateful for those donations and appreciate them mightily in this time where we're spread out and reaching you virtually. There is a 2-part prayer workshop coming up, and it is on June 27th and 28th. And so you have a little bit of time to think about if you'd like to do it. 2 parts, because what we're teaching in this prayer workshop is your ability to create and use your imagination and use the inner knowing that dwells within you to create and manifest a reality outwardly that is more attuned and aligned with what you see and know to be your truth now. So the workshop is on Saturday and Sunday, the 27th and 28th. It starts at 1 o'clock. And our practitioners are offering this. And all you need to do is let us know that you would like to be a part of it by emailing the center office at info@csl-bellingham.org. We'll get you on their list. It's absolutely free of charge. This is their heart speaking to your heart and teaching a tool that is so effective in grounding us in this radical uncertainty that we're experiencing. So I hope you'll do that. We also, as I mentioned last week, we're having a 4-week book study on a book that is called So You Want to Talk About Race. And it's starting on Thursday, June 25th. It's a 4-week book study, so we'll begin at 5 p.m., go for about an hour and a half each time. If you would like to be a part of that, also let the office know, info@csl-bellingham.org, and we'll put you on the list for the book study. It's being led by one of our board members who's also an educator and one of our practitioners. And we're requesting that by June 25th, you read the first 4 chapters of that book and come prepared to have a beautiful discussion. Also, I thought this would be my last week to do coffee and conversation, which I've been doing since the pandemic started, but I'm continuing that for a time. And so if you haven't jumped on one of those Zoom calls, please feel free to join us. They are offered on Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. And you can email me to get on my list for those. They're the same kind of chat, different people, but I bring the same material to each one. So you only need to attend one if you want to. And so my email is andrea.asebedo@att.net. And I would love to put you on that if you would like to join. We are having outdoor moving meditation on Tuesday mornings at 7 a.m. here on the grounds of the center. And you're welcome to join the folks that are doing that at 7 if you'd like. It's every Tuesday. And come. Many people wear masks, but because it's outside and it's very well spaced, you wouldn't have to. It's really a lovely opportunity. Some of you have chosen to join A Course in Love or the Buddhist meditation that's also being offered online through Zoom. And you can receive constant contact if you would like that information by letting the office know if you're not already on that list. Okay, so right now I'd like to turn it back over to Amber to lead us out with a wonderful song. And thank you again for joining us today.
Ooh, I believe in the power of kindness. Ooh, I believe in the power of love. Ooh, I believe in the power of kindness. Ooh, I believe in the power of love. Can you sing that with me? Let's sing it out. Ooh, I believe in the power of kindness. Ooh, I believe in the power of love. Ooh, I believe in the power of kindness. Ooh, I believe in the power of love. We don't know what's coming, we can help shape what's ahead. With kindness as our currency, the commonwealth is in our hands. So give a little on, give a lot, don't stop. A helping hand makes the world go round. There's more than enough. Ooh, I believe in the power of kindness. Ooh, I believe in the power of love, the power of love. Ooh, I believe in the power of kindness. Ooh, I believe in the power of love. The honeybee serves sweetness only to help the world bloom, bringing love to the flower, from the flower to the fruit. We can learn a thing or two. So give a little on, give a lot, don't stop. A helping hand makes the world go round. There's more than enough. Ooh, that love out to everyone. Here we go. Ooh, I believe in the power of kindness. Ooh, I believe in the power of love. One more time, sing it out now. Ooh, I believe in the power of kindness. Ooh, I believe in the power of love. Thanks everyone for being here with us today. We'll see you again next week. Blessings, everyone.